What up, perps? Kid Copious, back in effect. Purple State Party, you know what we're doing here. We're repping America, the center, common sense. I love ya. You know what? This one goes out to somebody who I think is an incredible person, raised some successful kids, and is now just struggling to get by. So, you know what? Happy birthday, CC. So this episode is, I guess, subtitled Dying on the Altar of Trump Derangement Syndrome. You know, and it goes beyond just the Trump derangement syndrome. It goes to those people who are stuck on one issue, willing to throw out the baby with the bathwater to get that one issue across. People who are wedded to a group that directs them in a bad direction. You know, whether that's the people out, you know, chanting death to Israel, or on the other side, the people who are saying, you know, death to non-whites or whatever. You know, there's a lot of people out there who are just stuck in this vicious cycle. And that's one of the things Purple State's trying to break away. You know, you don't have to be stuck in the red camp or the blue camp. Here in the purple camp, we want to expand our ideas. You know, we want to figure out what is the correct answer. Not what is our answer, not as what is Kid Copious's answer, but what is the answer? What is the real, honest to goodness truth of the matter? And what can we do to fix things? And what can we do to help people? How much do we help the world versus how much we help the United States? Not doing things that feel good, but things that yield good results. And one of those camps, you know, that I just mentioned, you know, this comes out of PragerU, October 7th. Well, PragerU reposting Max Manus's tweet or Instagram, whatever the hell this is. October 7th, 2023, Hamas carries out the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. You know, that's a day that, like 9/11, that sticks with me. I see the stories, I read the stories, and it still hurts like hell to think about what happened to all those young people who were just out enjoying a concert. You know, I mention it a lot, but, you know, I go to a lot of concerts, and, you know, I have they're kindred spirits, I guess. But the post goes on. October 7th, New Yorkers march in support of the attacks while calling my friends and I pigs who should go back to Europe, where our ancestors died in the gas chambers. See, this is what I meant by it's not just Trump derangement syndrome. It's a derangement that you really believe that Israel is the occupiers. Keep in mind, that area, Palestine, if you want to call it that, was owned by the British, who gave it to the Jews at the end of World War II. You know, the Jews actually turned around and bombed a hotel to chase the British out. Yeah, mistakes are made. Yes, things don't always go smoothly and nicely. But for the most part, Israel is not the one over there agitating. That's Iran. You know, I've mentioned it before, and I'm going to mention it again. Tel Aviv has a higher percentage of gay population than any U.S. city. This is a tolerant society over there. They're just trying to get by. Sometimes they have to do ugly shit because it's an ugly world. You know, another one of these derangements is this whole idea that somehow America is a better place because we've had a black president, or that will be a better place if we have a black, Asian, female president. You know, hey, I'm a Tulsi Gabbard fan, okay? It's not exactly white. So it has nothing to do with the color of the skin, what I'm saying here. What it has to do with is that way of thinking is so incorrect. The color of a person's skin, like Martin Luther King said, judge me not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's a much harder thing to do. And for some reason, and I don't know why, the left seems to think that we should be judging people on the color of skin. Jimmy Carter's last vote, you know, he's about to die. He's in hospice, you know, whatever. I don't wish him ill will. He was a shitty president. You know, he allowed Iran to fall into this fundamentalist Islamic bullshit that they're in right now. He allowed our hostages to be taken. He didn't in my opinion, do very much for this country. But he's staying long enough to vote for Kamala Harris. Like, that's something great. How is that great? Because she's a black woman? I mean, the fact that she was the vice president, the fact that we would even consider a black president, which we've already had for 2 terms, shows a lot about how far we've come. America is not perfection. We are progressing towards perfection. But the real reason I wanted to bring this up is this was written by a hospice care doctor who said, the notion that he has rallied in order to contribute in one final way to American democracy raises a familiar question that arises in my own work with patients and families. Do we have some control, conscious or not, over when we die? Can a person stretch the days of their lives to include a last meaningful act or moment? And I think, while that's true, we can, and I've seen it, it's more than just that last meaningful act. And this comes from my heart. I am a person who has a lot of hobbies. I have a lot. I'm not going to waste your time naming them all, okay? But I am into video editing, creating my own videos. I'm into Minecraft, lots of things. And it gives me something to wake up for every day. And then I look at my own mom, and she's abandoned all of her hobbies. Her day consists of just sitting there watching TV. I lost my dad about a little over a year ago. And one of the ways that he stayed young and happy was that he had hobbies. He had things that he liked to do. And I just want to urge everybody, if you don't have a hobby, get one. It doesn't matter what it is, you know. If it's making puzzles, if it's crossword puzzles, Sudoku, video games, you know, sports, anything. Because one of the things that's being overlooked today in America is the importance of mental health. The better your brain does, the better your body does. And while we're on the subject, you know, there goes your liver, there goes your body. Take care of your liver. Make sure you're drinking lots of water, staying hydrated. Make sure you're eating the right foods. Make sure that you're not overindulging in alcohol, okay? We all know here, I smoke a lot of weed, all right? That's what I do. I've been sober for well over 30 years now. And I'm not telling you to stop drinking. I'm telling you that you need to take care of your body and you need to take care of your mind. Whatever those issues are, that's what you should be doing. Let's get more into politics. I really wish I could just steer off of politics sometimes. I don't really like politics. I think it's very ugly. And I think a lot of the people in it are ugly. So before I launch into this chunk, I want to make something very clear. My problem with Kamala Harris is not solely her political party, okay? I think we'd be okay if our country was being run by Democrats, okay? I know this. I know the world is not going to stop spinning because a Democrat gets in there. I'm more worried about the new Democrats that are just leftists, okay? And I have no problem with a person of color. I personally want to see a Hispanic president. I think it's high time, you know, but whatever. I don't have a problem with it being a woman. I don't think Mexico is going to spin off into the universe because they have a female president. But I have a problem with Kamala Harris. She didn't earn the job, okay? She didn't earn it through her 4 years of being vice president. She didn't earn it when she tried to run for president in 2020. She didn't even make the primaries. She has been foisted upon Democrat voters by the party elites, and that is what really bothers me the most. She is underqualified, and the system was manipulated. She goes on The View and says she can't think of anything significant she would have done differently from President Biden the last 4 years. Not even the border. I mean, not even the border. They like to cheer. Oh, Biden, she cheerleads it a lot. We lower the price on insulin. Well, that's great for people with diabetes. I don't know what that does for the rest of us, but if you want to count that as a victory, go ahead. But the border is a mess. And we've seen for the last 4 years what this opening of the border, Toros, Look that up. That is the obvious answer. And she couldn't even give that because at the end of the day, all right, you know, Cackles McKnee pads here. And that's not my, I don't remember who said that, but Cackles McKnee pads can't even answer that question with the most obvious answer. I would not have opened the border. I would have continued the Trump administration's rules at the border. That's an easy answer. She couldn't even do it. That's why Democrats are perplexed why a candidate nobody ever voted for is slipping in the polls. Nobody ever voted for her. Okay? She was a feel-good vote in California. Then she was a feel-good vote for the Senate. And Joe Biden promised voters that if elected, he would choose a black woman. And there she is, a black woman. So I don't understand how she's earned any credibility. And recently, she kind of bitched and moaned that DeSantis wouldn't return her phone calls. You know, DeSantis simply said, I don't know why I would contact her. She's not in charge of relief. She's not the president. She's not anybody of any importance. Meanwhile, Biden and other Democrats were praising DeSantis for the job he did with the hurricanes. The East Coast has gotten battered, man. We had some bad hurricanes come through. But anyhow, Babylon B kind of, sums it up here. What a jerk. Kamala wants to help with hurricane relief, but DeSantis refuses to tell her where Florida is. Yeah, because she's that fucking stupid. I object to her so much. I think probably by now you figured that out. But she is not a smart woman. She's not a competent woman. She has not earned any of this. And that is the most disgusting part about it. This is the elite of America simply saying, this is who we want. This is what we think will make us feel good. And companies like Google and Facebook have poured millions of dollars into her campaign. Even though she is uncalled. Howard Stern. What a simp. Howard Stern is the ultimate simp. And he's an idiot also. I've never really been a fan of his. I did like him when he was on AGT, America's Got Talent. But this is a guy, he had an interview with Kamala, and he said that it is so important that Trump loses that he'd vote for a wall over Trump. He literally told Kamala to her face, hey, you're an idiot, but I'm going to vote for you because you're not Trump. That's Trump derangement syndrome. When you are willing to make such a horrible fucking choice. I urge people in the last election, look at Joe Biden before you vote for him. And what has he done? Wars popping up all over the world. Price of everything going up. The price of fuel going up. I mean, the border, somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 million people, most of them poor and not really qualified to even be in the United States, have now entered the United States. Our cities are being absolutely burdened by the cost of it all. We're going to get into a little bit of that cost further on in the show. But holy crap. Trump, Howard Stern went on to say that it was bad that Saturday Night Live makes fun of her. It's too important, he said. They shouldn't be making fun of her. This is a guy who said the Columbine shooters should have the female students before they murdered them. That's just insanity. That Howard Stern has become such a simp for the left that he would say, oh, they shouldn't make fun of Kamala. Really? Really, Trump? Really, Stern? Wow. Thank God you're relegated to Sirius where only the idiots have to listen to you. This one, I brought this story up further into the lineup here because I think this one is, again, very important information to get out. I've made no bones about it. I am not for electric vehicles, okay? It's not a choice I would make. I understand why they have them. Like I said before, electric vehicles were designed so rich people could charge them at home and not have to deal with us commoners at the gas station. Look at this. Illinois quick hits. State Farm removes electric vehicle chargers over fire risk. What? They have this big parking structure, and inside the parking structure, They had electric vehicle chargers in their corporate headquarters in Bloomington, in Illinois. All right. But they pulled those all out because of a fire risk. So an insurance company doesn't want electric vehicle chargers inside the parking structure because of fire. So what's that going to mean? What's that going to mean for the rest of us? Are they not going to insure homes that have chargers or EVs charging inside garages? What about detached garages, semi-detached? What about those? How is that going to affect people? Because at the end of the day, electric vehicle chargers and electric vehicles are somewhat dangerous. Their batteries comprise of chemicals that can self-ignite. They're comprised of chemicals that produce oxygen. So while you're trying to get rid of the triangle to kill the fire, it's fueling itself. It's supplying its own oxygen. This is dangerous technology. All right? A day will come where EV fires are one of the leading causes of fires in America. Electric vehicles, such as those little scooters, are already one of the leading causes of fires in New York City and one of the leading causes of death by fire in New York City. State Farm's already getting hip to it. But while we're talking about EVs, let's look at the hurricanes over there. Right now, Tampa and parts of Florida, certainly parts of the North Carolina, they're going to be without power for weeks. So how do you charge your cell phones? How are you going to charge other appliances? How are you going to get electricity? Well, if you have a diesel truck or a gasoline car, you could have stocked up on gas. You could fill up your tank, and you could run your car to generate electricity. You could run your car to generate AC or heating. Hey, that's the truth of the matter. Whereas these EVs, they're all going to be dead. The salt water that gets into them can corrode the batteries, causing them to spontaneously combust. But yet we're going to plow ahead with it. Because these people have EV derangement syndrome, green derangement syndrome. You see how it works? I mean, look, I love the environment. I pick up random trash, okay? I do my part. I love this planet. I love nature. I fucking hate the city. Anybody who knows me knows that I do not like going into Los Angeles. But right now, there are places like Asheville, North Carolina, and surrounding areas. I don't remember the name, something mountain. The entire town was washed away. Not only were the houses washed away, but the land was washed away. The roads are gone. The water infrastructure is gone. Places like Asheville, they are digging wells in ball fields, in baseball fields, at schools to get water. That's where we need to be putting our effort. That's where we need to be putting our thoughts and prayers. Our own people, Americans, are absolutely have absolutely lost everything. And the money that we could send them, well, it's been allotted somewhere else. Let's look at Bronco here. Iran, illegal aliens, Lebanon, Middle East relief, student loan bailouts, and the Ukraine, the biggest bag of them all. Now, I know we need to do these things. But as we're going to see in a few articles, sometimes when you spend money on feel-good shit, you don't have money for the practical emergencies that pop up. I mean, that's really what it is. And that's one of the saddest things about our economy right now. Less and less people have savings. What if something comes up? What if you need $500 for this, or $500 for that, or $1,000 for this, or $1,000 for that? Where are you going to get that money? It's the same thing with our country. We spend a lot of money. We have spent, you look at a couple of those right there, and it's just ridiculous. The student loan bailout and the illegal aliens, that was all preventable. That's 2 sacks you could take away from that stack. It's been kind of depressing so far. So let's get some good news. Not even close. Hodgman's lead over Gascon grows to 30% in new DA's race pool. Yeah, if you look at it right now, 51% of people are going to vote for Hodgman. You know, the one thing that I like about him is that he's not George Gascon. Now, one thing that I do like is that in his ads, he talks about addressing the root causes of crime, but when a crime occurs, prosecute it. Isn't that purple? Okay, isn't that purple? Yes. The root causes. How do we fix these broken communities? What can we as a society do to fix these broken communities? What can we do to lift the youth up, to give them alternatives to gangs and crime? Sure, I'm all frickin' for that. But when somebody F's up, bam, hammer of God on them. Because that's the only thing that works. That's the only way you get through to criminals. All right? Community outreach works fine to get people to not commit crimes. But once they've committed those crimes, they need to be punished. That's the end of it. That's it. That's the solution. Address the root causes of crime, but when a crime is committed, prosecute it. Damn, that's fucking simple. Right? What was Gascon's plan? Address the root causes of crime and police brutality, and when a crime is committed, try to dismiss it? Fuck. Another I hate the way that California acts so illogically. Okay? I don't mind what these people are trying to accomplish. You know, I think it's a noble goal to reduce the amount of plastic in our environment. Big thumbs up from the kid. All right? But the way they're going about it, this comes from the Washington Times. We finally have a way to recycle plastic. California wants to destroy it. Yeah, you read that right. Despite the real problems facing the once golden state, homelessness, crime, some of the highest adult illiteracy rate in the hemisphere, that's half the world, I believe the upper top, income inequality, loss of populations, etc. Newsom and Bonta, both Democrats, have decided that the long road back from a failed state starts with attacking and, of course, suing companies that are trying to address our nation's plastic waste problem. Keep in mind, folks, the rest of the world, the majority of the rest of the world, including some big names, don't give a shit about what they're dumping into our waterways. Okay? Just so you know, you can look it up. Fact check my ass on this. The United States ranks below places like Egypt when it comes to the amount of shit we put into the ocean. But they are trying to sue ExxonMobil, saying that they misled customers about the feasibility of recycling plastics, despite the fact that for decades, California has promoted recycling as a viable way to manage plastic waste. So California is saying it, but it's not okay for Exxon to say it. Well, because you can't sue yourself, I guess. But Exxon already has a site. This is this newer technology, this advanced recycling, that can recycle 80 million pounds of plastic each year, turning plastic bottles into jet airplanes. But because it's Exxon and has deep pockets, Bonta sees political opportunity. They have learned, ExxonMobil, the people being sued for lying about recycling, are moving forward with new technologies that allow them to rearrange molecules and turn low-value plastics into higher-value materials. You know why they're suing? Because California is fucking broke, and we have so much goddamn debt. But anyhow, we'll get into more of that. Hillary Clinton's starting to look like the dude from Saw, isn't she? She's calling on the government to force censorship. And, she, you know, here she goes. She told CNN, whatever, Smirniconish, whatever, fuck CNN, that leaders could lose control if they don't take serious action to censor digital content. Right. And this person wrote, Democrats see the internet as a propaganda tool rather than a medium for an open exchange of information. Another one said they're afraid of exposure, indictment, and prison. Well, because she wants them to imitate what California and New York have done. Now, I understand. I don't want lies. Okay, I have to research my articles. I have to run my articles past my daughter, who, as daughters and fathers are, they're on opposite pole, yings and yangs and all that. So she fact checks a lot of this shit before I bring it on the air. And I strive just to bring the truth. Okay? But the fact is that like we saw with the Trump-Russian collusion and very clearly with the Hunter Biden laptop, the truth is in the eye of the beholder. And that's the problem I have with this. She wants to repeal Section 230 of the Communications Act that keeps online platforms from being held liable for content posted by users. It's a message board. That legal carve-out, she argued, was an overly simple view that did not take into account the dangers of social media. Well, what I hear is Democrats say, hey, every time we propose some bad ideas, the people on Twitter tell us how it's bad. And then other people listen and they go, boy, that was a bad idea. The real problem with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is it is harming our children. Okay? It promotes gambling. It promotes drug dealers and body image issues. It promotes bullies. There's the problem. Not that it talks shit about the Democrats. And one person said, who is we? Who is we? Keith here says, they're all telling us what their goal is. Only totalitarian governments use the phrase, we must ban free speech or we lose control. And that's what it is. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. They're running scared because there's people who are calling out their bullshit. And what they want, much like we're seeing right now with the mainstream legacy media, is all these people patching over Kamala Harris's faults and trying to tell us why we should, like Obama said, as black men, we should vote for a black woman. And nobody calling them out on it because the media is in bed with them. The problem is not all of us are in bed with them. And now we have a platform, and they're scared of that. I ain't scared of that. You got to sift through the lies? Sure, okay, that's fucked up. All right? But if you believe these absurd AI videos, if you hear Kamala Harris say, well, the United States would be better with Trump in office, well, you're probably not going to believe that. You should probably research it because it's probably AI. Not that hard. You often hear about like legacy media, mainstream media, whatever, the left-wing media. And that's why I brought this story up. This is from The Cool Down. And this is going to show you a good example of this rhetoric, this propaganda, this green derangement syndrome. State Farm discloses zip codes where it'll drop coverage for over 70,000 houses and homes. Not the big picture here, okay? The problem is, the way this article, they're talking about it right here. Okay, they're just talking about the nuts and bolts. How many people, blah, 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 blah. It's not really that many people in California that will be affected, Properties in California, a state that is prone to wildfires, is increasingly seeing insurance policies dropped because of the rising risk of these extreme weather events. See, again, we're starting in the extreme weather events. They're just weather events that are bigger or smaller than other ones. It's the way nature is. We've seen this before. We have seen this before. This is leaving residents without a safety net. Human-caused pollution. See, there you go. Trapping heat in the atmosphere and causing thermometers to rise. Hot, dry conditions, which are ideal for the formation of wildfires. Wildfires. Which the National Interagency Fire Center says begins because of humans in 87% of cases. So you have a bunch of arsonists. You have a bunch of people irresponsibly camping. Oh, yeah, that's right. About 50% of the fires that are caused by humans are caused by homeless encampments. You have people growing weed up in the mountains who aren't doing things proper, and they have fires. You have assholes who simply start fires. But I'm going to tell you something. This human-caused pollution, heating the environment, that's not the real story here. The real story is, in California, environmentalists have convinced the agencies involved that it's better to let Mother Nature take care of the forest instead of cleaning it up. And then on the flip side, of course, they don't have the money to clean it up because they're spending the money on all their stupid shit. They're paying people to remain homeless. That's not a good idea. That's a waste of money. We're giving out benefits to illegal immigrants, and that's not a good way of spending your money, right? That's what these people do. They spin it. What can be done about wildfires? Cleaning up the forest? No. Reducing our production of planet warming pollution is essential as quickly as possible. Oh my God, we gotta hurry it. Oh, swap out your gas guzzling car for an electric one. Oh, get solar panels. That's money to China. Meanwhile, the rest of the world, doop-a-doop-a-doop, we're gonna do what we wanna do. So, F you. So we're gonna go bankrupt. The planet's not gonna change. For what? But that's really what can be done about wildfires. Not a matter of maybe making sure that that you have an area around your house that's clear of dry vegetation. Maybe installing sprinklers, house sprinklers, whatever. In the house, fire sprinklers, I guess I meant to say. You'd think I'd know since I work with them. But, hey, kids on his own level, man. I'm on my own thing. But that's what we should do. Oh, we should go green. That'll stop forest fires. Okay. No. The organization, oh my God. Also notes that if a family skips meat and cheese one day a week, that would be like taking a car off the road for 5 weeks. No. No, I don't know how you're pulling your funny numbers out of your ass. But that's not going to change the fires. If I skip having a steak and cheese sandwich one day a week, it ain't going to change anything, folks. It's not going to change anything. It's designed to make you feel good, but that doesn't make me feel good. You know what makes me feel good? Donating every month to the Shriners Children's Hospital. That makes me feel good. I love it when I get that email. Thank you for your donation. Because that's doing something. Skipping meat is not going to reduce fires. The fact that they even bring this up shows you how brainwashed they are in this green derangement syndrome. And they know that the people that read this have the same derangement syndrome. Then they say right here, while these actions won't stop the occurrence of wildfires, these measures can reduce the risk of them occurring, in addition to other extreme weather events like flooding, deadly storms, and severe droughts. And yeah, part of the Sahara is going back to green because Mother Nature has wobbled the earth a little bit. All right. I'm not saying we shouldn't clean up our act. I say it all the time. All right. But what they're doing right now, like California's doing with Exxon, is you're forcing electric vehicles upon people and manufacturers. So the manufacturers, instead of advancing engine purity to make our normal cars, our normal cars cleaner, they're having to divert money over to this EV that's going to fail instead of developing better engines. Better engines, more gas mileage, more money in our pocket. But those aren't the easy solutions. The easy solutions is throw bullshit like this to make everybody feel good. We saw that sack earlier. Well, here's one. That sack of money. New York City seeking 14,000 hotel rooms to shelter migrants through 2025 as housing costs set to surpass $2.3 billion. $2.3 billion. Gone. That money's gone to shelter migrants who shouldn't even be here in hotels. Yeah, the hotels, they're going to get their money. They're going to have to pay for the damages. A lot of that will get taken care of by the government because it's more, if they say 2.3 billion, you could bet your sweet bippity that it's more going to be like 4 billion. About 150 hotels are currently sheltering migrants, and total spending on migrant services over 3 years will hit $5.76 billion. That's all money that New York don't have because New York broke too. LA broke, New York broke, California broke. Starting to see a theme here? Broke. Because you're spending money on this shit that Biden and Harris enacted. No Republican signed off on flying in people from other countries and giving them parole status. More Newsom shit. Newsom appointed board considers raising gas prices another 47 cents per gallon. Isn't that awesome? Because it'll also impact Arizona and Nevada. Hey, Arizona and Nevada, are you listening to this? Because we could make it even more expensive on you because of the California Air Resources Board. CARB. When you need it fucked up, call CARB. CARB for all your effed up needs. Yeah, they want to start regulating the oil industry, when they're allowed to shut down for maintenance and repair, and determine how much inventory, because they know better than the oil providers. Wait a minute. So our government that in California that can't even reduce our homeless population thinks that they're going to tell the refineries how to do shit, and that's not going to lead to something bad. The good news is, fortunately, there's a broad coalition of Republicans, Democrats, neighboring governors, and even labor unions that oppose this measure. So it probably will not pass, hopefully. But, one of the things that was mentioned in this article was the LCFS credits. Now, I'll run it along the bottom because I don't remember what they were called. But you know what they are? This is dumb. This is almost as dumb as fucking Bitcoin, okay? Every time you fill up an electric vehicle with electricity at a charger, you get these LCFS credits that you then subtract from your overall total. This is the kind of feel-good bullshit that Purple State absolutely abhors. If you put 30 million metric tons of carbon in the air and then say, oh no, it was only 25 because of our credits, doesn't work that way. Carbon's still in the air. If these carbon credits came from removing carbon, physically removing carbon that already exists in the atmosphere, then I would agree this is bullshit accounting kind of stuff. Giving them so stupid. This was part of another article. Newsom pops off with, the good news is we're still the 5th largest economy in the world. Okay. So that leads us, we're the 5th largest economy in the world. So that leads us into some ballot measures here. This isn't a matter of, am I for or against them? Okay. I'll just tell you up front, Prop 5, I'm sort of on board. I have some concerns. Prop 2, no. Let's get into those. You could put in a proposition with the city name, like you could put in Prop 5 in LA. Run it through a place called Ballotpedia. Breaks it down and shows you the nuts and bolts, the bare facts. It raises $125 million for firefighting and 911 upgrades and things like that. Well, you need to upgrade the 911 system. You've known about this for 10 years. Why didn't you use the money that you needed then? Well, you spent it on homeless and drug addicts and giving people clean syringes. But how they're gonna raise it is a 6 cent per square foot tax on parcels of land. It's a parcel tax. It's a way around Prop 13, by the way. Doesn't sound like much, but quite frankly, I'm a bit concerned that once we start letting them do these parcel taxes, it'll spiral out of control. But it's a parcel tax. It's not $125 million that's magically going to appear because people vote for it. That's the same thing with Prop 2, which I'm really against. Prop 2 is to fix the schools. We had a surplus a few years ago. I said this about another proposition just a few years ago. Why didn't we use the state budget? So what they want to do is they want to sell $10 billion in bonds. That sounds good. Oh, we'll just sell some bonds and get some money and we'll fix the schools. But bonds are just loans. Okay? Somebody buys a bond. You have to pay it back. It's something like 5% roughly on the return. Some of these bonds are way higher than that. But it's just a loan. And here's the thing. We already owe $79 billion in bond debt. The interest payments at 5% just for this newest $10 billion is about $50 million a year. But right now, we already have $395 million in interest payments. And that's just based on a bond going 10 years. My numbers might be a little bit off. They might be higher. They might be lower. I don't know. I just did this as a rough one off my head because I wanted to have some idea of what we were talking about. But if this was to pass, we would be looking at dipping into our budget by like $445 million right out the door. When you buy things with a credit card and pay high interest rates, it doesn't work out well for you. It's not good financial sense. It really isn't. When I used to do mortgages, the first thing I wanted to do with that person's cash that they were pulling out was pay off all their debts. Because that's what you do. I know a dude at work right now, and that's his main focus in life, is paying off his debt. That's the way we should be doing it, not incurring more debt. But we are already something like $60 billion in the hole on our state budget. And that's what we need to change in America, in our states, in our cities. We cannot be spending so much money that we don't have. Trump was guilty of it. Biden was guilty of it. Harris will be guilty of it. Newsom, way guilty of it. California Democrats, way guilty of it. But please, just run these things through Ballotpedia and just look at what you see. If you are okay with a 6-cent parcel tax to raise money for firefighters, great, vote for it. If you think taking on $10 billion in bonds is a swell idea, then vote for it. But go in knowing how much this is going to cost. It all feels good. Let's fix the schools. Yay, I got a smile on my face. You can't see. Oh, yeah, you can. But what's the reality? Reality. It's ever shifting, apparently. I don't really see it that way. I see the world as, black and white with shades of gray. But I don't see all of a sudden it turning orange or green. But, people make choices to get one thing or another. But oftentimes, you have to sacrifice something else. Today, I have to fix my fantasy team. I can pick up this running back who's going to start, and this running back who's going to start. Maybe he'll be a little more long-term. I don't know. But I can only pick one, and I'm going to have to leave one behind. And if that one I leave behind does really good, I'm going to be kicking myself. But life is about that. You make a choice, and sometimes you have to sacrifice something to get that choice. But now we live in a society where for one person's choice, other people must sacrifice. Our politicians do it with how they spend their money. We're seeing it in women's sports, where the women have to make the sacrifice for somebody else's choice. I really didn't want to bring that up, but it really bothers me. Because we know that women who play sports go on to have better lives than women who don't play sports. I don't know how that works out. But if you look at a lot of female CEOs, powerful business leaders, people like that, politicians, they played some sort of sport. It gave them the confidence that maybe society wasn't giving them. And I think it's really important. And I think, again, it's another clear-cut thing. But, to anybody watching this, just think about your own choices. Think about what you might have to sacrifice. If you're struggling with drugs and alcohol, what are you sacrificing for your drugs and alcohol? And does that make sense? If you're struggling with mental health, what will you have to sacrifice to get back to a good spot? Because I can tell you, having had both of those struggles, I did have to make choices. I did have to make sacrifices. I don't stand before you as a person who has had it easy. I have had it easier, but in some ways I've had it harder. I just want what's best for people out there. We need politicians who can get a little teary-eyed when they say that they want to do what's best for other people. I'm Kid Copious. I'm a Purple State Party. So are you. Hope this helped a little bit. If it did, please like, subscribe, all of that. But be kind to one another. And if you've got some sort of derangement syndrome, get some help. But you know what I got? I got dance syndrome. Yeah.